having 7 to 8 kids with no money is not okay. I don't know why people on TikTok here keep trying to normalize it. We got folks out here recording them with 7 to 8 kids living in hotel rooms, and they splitting noodle packs and washing dishes in the bathtub and all that stuff. I don't understand this. Okay, look, it come to a point where you guys say, look, maybe I'm doing too much. Maybe I have too many children. Maybe I should stop. You would think that would happen, but no. There's people out here right now trying to make money off TikTok, trying to, I guess, normalize that having 7 to 8 kids is okay. All right, it's not okay. This is very traumatizing to the children because they gotta go to schools, and you know, a lot of folks probably see their TikToks and know their situation, so it's traumatizing to them. And then we got the mother who are still pregnant, trying to ask for more donations. This is insane. I mean, where the fathers at? When all these videos you see on TikTok of single mothers out here raising 7 to 8 kids, you rarely see any of the fathers. They don't mention them, and the ones that do mention, they're not working, they don't have jobs. It's just crazy, you know, to put your children through this, you know. And CPS is too full, so CPS won't step in. You know, CPS always busy. They don't have time to really look into stuff anymore like that. So I feel for those children, you know, because growing up in poverty is not fun and very traumatizing. And no child should want to go through that, you know, being born to having 8, 9 kids all the way around you, okay, every single day. That house is never peaceful. It's sad.
Hello everyone, this is Emmanuel Cook. We will be reacting to a new video today, so make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe down below, and let's get into the video.
How is it rude or mean to say someone shouldn't be bringing kids into the world if they're not financially stable enough to provide for them? Like, I don't understand how that, please somebody correct me, because I'm not coming at this as if I'm all right. I'm trying to figure out where I'm wrong. How is it wrong to say someone should not be bringing kids into the world if they're not financially stable and able to support them? I don't, like, how is that not making sense? How does that not click? Yes, people can get themselves together and their lives together later, but it's plenty of people walking around here whose parents never got that together for them, who had to work and struggle every single day of their life on top of being here when they didn't ask to be here. So how is that okay? What is the answer to that? Oh, well, they wanted to have kids. You gotta, you know, live up to their happiness and figure it out on your own because your parents wanted you to be here. Somebody please tell me.
About y'all, but me personally, I only have 1 cat to watch. 1. Maybe if I had a daughter, I had 2 cats to watch, but I only have 1. It's not normal for people to have, it's not abnormal for people to have multiple kids. Only in our community is that frowned upon. A family of 6, a family of 7, that's not abnormal. As a matter of fact, when they had less than us, they were still doing that. When they were in slavery, they were still doing that. Y'all beef is with the economy. Because why can't I feed a family of 2 with less than $50? Y'all could barely feed y'allself. But that's not a beef with humans. That's a beef with the people that run this economy. So get on the front line. Go march. I don't know. To say that we condone it. See, the thing about being grown is you get to do what you want to do. It's not condoning anything. That's their household. The kid's not even on the street and y'all making an issue. The kids is fed in a house. Again, y'all just need something to complain about. Something to make you feel like you're better than the next person. But you're not.
As somebody who had broke parents, I just want to say that it's very traumatizing, and I feel like when people are not where they want to be at in life, or they're not doing well financially, they just should not have children at all. Not being able to do activities, not being able to like play sports, living in a crowded house, not having my own bedroom, all of that stuff was just very traumatic, and I feel like it really delayed my development. I had my first son at 16. I thank God that his grandmother was there. His paternal grandmother was there to pick up the slack for myself and his father, because if it would have been for her, I don't know what would have happened. But I did not have any more children after I had my son. He was 8 years old when I had my first daughter and 9 when I had my second daughter. And the only reason that I had them was because I was married, right? And even in that relationship, we were still kind of broke, and I knew like I had to get out. I was not about to traumatize my daughters because their dad and I were not getting it together. And mind you, my ex-husband does not come from a broke family. Kids need one-on-one attention. Kids need to be in activities. Kids need to be able to go on field trips. Kids should have their own bedrooms, their own spaces in the home. It's definitely important for a child's development. And I also want to say this. I did not have children so that my children could kind of be like my backbone or my support system. I don't go to my kids with my troubles. Even when money is tight, I don't ever tell my daughters, no, we can't do this because money is tight. I keep it zip. My daughters don't know when I'm struggling. I work so hard to keep their life normal because I don't want them to pay the repercussions for my decisions in my life. Having kids is very selfless. It requires a lot of time, a lot of dedication, and a lot of patience and a lot of resources. And I just feel like if you don't have the adequate resources, if you don't have the adequate support, if you don't have the adequate career, I just feel like SEX should just not be on the mind.
We still trying to process the 26-year-old with 6 kids. And now we got some.
I figured it out. Having kids in 2025 and thereafter is a mental illness. Shout out to Dana Dane. I always enjoy her breakdowns. But I'm going to take it a step further. It's a mental illness at this point. And I think they probably need to declare it a mental illness in order to get those kids the resources that they need for free, I guess, right? The reason why I think it's a mental illness, and I am not qualified to diagnose anybody with a mental illness, but because I understand the way nature is supposed to go for the most part, I think I can say there's something wrong with these people, right? Because we are supposed to be the evolved species. The female is supposed to be more evolved than this. But the females of all the other species on the planet instinctively know not to reproduce when the environment is not right, when it is not safe, when there are not enough resources. Even insects, even spiders know this, right? But somehow the most evolved species haven't figured this out yet. I do know a lot of it has to do with social conditioning and brainwashing and all of that. Huge part. But at what point, at what age, at what time in your life do you get to a place where you're like, I should have learned my lesson after the first baby. I'm not having no more kids. It's hard with 2 kids. I'm not finna have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 50, 11. Like who finna, like why? And I don't know what to do, because it's like, do we help them in order to look out for those innocent kids who didn't ask for any of this? Or do we just say, tough, this is the consequence of your actions, deal with it? I don't know what we're supposed to do. But every time I get online and I see this stuff, I get very frustrated, because it's like, just stop. If you don't have the resources and you don't have the education, okay, the one thing you can do is stop having sex. Stop effing. Just stop. You don't need a man. You don't need a husband. Most of them are not going to help you anyway. What you need is to be a mother, and you need resources for your children.
As for me, I don't personally think that it is a mental illness. I think that some people just do not want to be alone. I think a lot of times people have kids to keep their partner in their life. Kids are a lifetime responsibility. And so a lot of people use children as a trap to permanently bond with the other parent. And there are parents out there who only use kids for a good tax refund. They have a lot of children only to earn a lot of money and get help from the government.
I honestly think people have kids for the sake of it. I think people get to a certain age, late 20s, mid 30s, and think, oh, I need to have kids now and I need to get married. Why? Why are you having kids? Because something has just sparked something in me to say this. Why do you want to bring children into this world? Like, have you asked yourself that question? For me, I don't think I want to do it. No, you know what? I'm probably scared to say I don't want to do it. Do you know why? Because I don't want them to experience anything that I've had to experience in this life. Everything that I'm doing in this life, I'm working away from. Everything that I've had to work so hard in my adult life to work myself away from everything that I was taught, and I'm learning everything. So why am I going to want to bring children into that when I don't even have a stable environment? Half these people that are having kids don't have a stable environment, don't have nothing to offer them, don't have nothing to give them, but they're still having kids. Why? Why are you having children? It doesn't make any sense. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Why are you bringing children into poverty and then they're lost? They don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they want out of life. They have no sense of direction. Then they go get pregnant and they continue the vicious cycle. It ends with me. It ends with me, bruv. You ever sat and asked yourself a question like, why do I want children? Yes, okay, as women, it is part of our human experience that we can procreate if we want. We're living in a time now where women have autonomy. We have choices. Before, our grandparents and great-great-great-grandparents and ancestors didn't have a choice. Now we live in a time where we can see what's happening in the world today. We've had a lived experience. None of us want to work 9 to 5. Nobody wants to work 9 to 5, but we do it. Why do you want to bring somebody else into that to suffer? Do you know how much I've had to do to work myself away from the system? Why do I now want to bring someone else to go through that suffering? Huh? And then also as a black woman, like, I've had to work myself so far away from this system that I'm actually trying to get the fuck out of the UK because of the experiences I had as a black woman. Why do you want to put somebody else through that? Why do you want to put somebody else through that? I said the only way I would do it is if I was living in an environment where I was the majority, or I am the majority. Until then, I don't know, and I don't know how long that's going to take me. So then, when I get there and I can't do it, what am I going to do? Cry about it? No. Like, I just think sometimes we need to ask ourselves questions, and I just don't think people do that enough. Because for me, I don't want anybody to experience the life that I've lived. I don't. Like, I got asked a question the other day, like, oh, do you not enjoy life? I make the most of it. I make the most of it because I'm here, but I didn't ask to be here. I didn't ask to be here, and now I'm being forced against my own will to do things that I don't want to fucking do, and nobody wants to fucking do it, and nobody wants to open their mouth and say the truth. Nobody wants to open their mouth and say, I don't want to do this. It's only on this bloody app that I come on here and I see people telling the truth. Everybody else is fucking zombies walking around. Like, make it make sense. Like, if you're in a loving family, if you have a supportive partner, and you have the funds, the financial grounds, the emotional intelligence, the emotional stability, the financial stability, a secure home, yeah, and resources that you can maintain and support this child for the rest of their life. Because there's also this notion that as soon as you turn 9 to 18, you're no longer responsible. Yes, you fucking are. It's your child. Until your child is dead, you're responsible for your child. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. So just make sure that you're going to be able to be there and support your child for the rest of your life and sacrifice everything. And then on top of it, that's another thing. I don't want to sacrifice myself alive. I don't want to, like, I was listening to the radio and the man was like, yeah, summer holidays is fast approaching. Make sure you're sitting down with your kids reading and writing. Make sure you're sitting down with your kids. I don't want to do that. I want to live my life. I want to go to my singing lessons that I decided to do when I was an adult because I didn't get that one as a child. You know, or I want to go to my pole class that I decided to do as an adult because I have the choice and the freedom to do it. I want to do stuff. Oh, and then people are going to say, yeah, but you can work around it. I don't want to. And that's okay. That's okay. You can work around it. I don't want to, and that is okay. It's okay. It's okay to make a choice.
A quick reminder, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe down below, and let's continue the video.
As a kid that grew up in the projects, around the projects, by the projects, I just think it's so insulting when y'all say having kids in poverty is abuse. Because our childhood was so lit, it didn't make no damn sense. The things y'all equate as y'all grown ass mind that y'all equate that y'all think kids give a fuck about is actually insane to me. It's more of a you got an issue with it than the kids got it. You ain't worried about the kids. Your concern is not for the kids. Because kids in the hood, kids in poverty, their childhood be lit as hell. And I ain't talking about, because I'm just going according to what y'all is calling poverty, right? It was times growing up, we had breakfast for dinner because that's all we had to eat. You think we were sad about it? No, we was happy. Happy as shit. In our mind, we was getting something special. We had an actual childhood. We was outside. We knew how to problem solve. We had games. We had creativity. Y'all problem is y'all think y'all only got a one-dimensional brain, and it's surrounded by comfort. It's really surrounded by the European lifestyle. It's a insult to our ancestors, talking about, oh, y'all keep having kids in power. Them people ain't have nothing. Nothing. Some of y'all got it all and still ain't shit.
equating kids and money. There's never enough money for a kid.
The conversation being had about poverty and having a child and eugenics is actually pissing me off, because one, I thought eugenics was about like race, like it had more to do with race than anything else. I didn't realize we just like say eugenics every time somebody makes a hot take, or maybe even a take we don't like. Because what do you mean saying that people in poverty probably shouldn't have children is eugenics? What are you talking about? What's pissing me off is this idea that yes, we know poverty is wrong. By the way, poverty is a global issue. It's not a uniquely American issue. Poverty is a global issue. Almost every country, everywhere, is having some sort of poverty taking place within their borders. So that's number one. It's a global issue. Two, poverty simply exists. Is poverty bad? Yes. Is it completely unfair and wrong for people to be suffering when they don't actually have to? When we have more than enough resources to house, to feed, to clothe, to medicate, to care, to educate people? Yes, it's obscene that this level of poverty exists in America and in other countries when we can actually take care of it and we have all the resources to do so. That aside, it still exists. Under the system of capitalism that we have, it still in fact exists. And because it exists, we should not be creating multiple generations who suffer at the hands of poverty just so child can be born. Because to say that, oh well, you know, we shouldn't say why are people in poverty having children, we should say why are people in poverty? Huh? What are you talking about right now? Oh, it's unfair that the rich get to have children. They can provide their children with a better life. What about that reality is unclear to people when they're having this argument? It's not eugenics to say that I know factually, and this is the thing, like we got to stop, oh well, it's my opinion. Factually, it is not wrong to say that somebody who lives in squalor, who doesn't have access to medical care for themselves, food for themselves, housing for themselves, clothing and education for themselves, should not be bringing life into this world who they then cannot provide those things for. It's not crazy, it's not eugenics, it should not even be controversial. You do not, and I need us to understand this, a child is not a right. You do not have a right to produce a child. You have a biological need and ability to produce a child. You don't have a right to another human being's existence because you want it. That is a stupid fucking argument, rich or not, whether you're rich or poor. Well, I want it. We actually should be challenging people's thought processes around having children. That's not to say that people shouldn't want to have children or the desire there is wrong or planning for a child is wrong. It's to say that if you know, you are cognitively aware that you are at a complete financial, medical, and other deficits, that you should not be actively trying to have a child is not eugenics and it's not controversial. Children shouldn't have to suffer simply because you woke up one day and decided you wanted to procreate. I'm being very clear about the language I'm using. I'm using want versus need. Poverty is wrong. Poverty is bad. These are these are actively knowledgeable things. But poverty is a global issue. And people keep exploiting our children the more we create them in poverty. I don't want to keep creating children who get exploited by the rich and the billionaires and everybody around the world because we have lived in this nonsensical world that we should be able to have. No. People should not be creating other human beings to intentionally suffer in poverty in the manner in which they are. No matter how bad the desire for a child is, how can you truly say you love your child if you are intentionally putting them and creating them and putting them in a world where they will suffer more than others when they did not in fact have to? How is that controversial? I'm just yapping, but I absolutely have the conversation in my comment section, because I don't know how we are arguing this in 2025 when we have access to a plethora of information via Google and other resources to let us know that, hey, most children who are in poverty have a shitty life as children and usually have shitty lives as adults. And now we have an administration that's making it 3, 4, 5 times harder to pull yourself out of poverty for the ones who want to. What is wrong with us? Are we so bored we're having nonsensical conversations just to argue? Poverty should not exist, and children should not have to be born in poverty to prove a point.
And I always say this, but let me reiterate these things. Guys, you have to plan out your life. If you do not plan out your life and you go ahead and make poor choices in life, you will regret it. And one of those poor choices is having kids when you cannot afford them. Having kids when you are not emotionally mature enough to take care of even yourself, yet alone your children. Having kids when you are not mentally stable. If you're not emotionally stable. Kids test all of your strengths and all of your weaknesses that you have. And so if you have a lot of serious issues, then your kids are going to reflect those things, because kids do what they see you do. And so if you are emotionally unstable, turns out your children will most likely be emotionally unstable as well. If you're mentally unstable, there's a high chance that your kids will be the same, or at least be affected by your lack. If you're financially unstable, your kids will grow up in poverty, and they will see you stress, and they will have money trauma. They will either be extremely frugal because they know what poverty does to people, or they will be extreme spenders, where they have had lack all of their life, and now they pretty much have to splurge and spend the money that you never gave them.
And stop bringing kids in the world if you cannot provide for them. It's very unfair and it's very selfish. Your kids have to struggle and suffer in poverty because you, as an adult, could not make common sense decisions. It's not fair. I'm not even surprised that some of y'all even agree with this 26-year-old with 6-7 kids, because I mean, look at y'all are a fucking wreck yourself. Y'all families are dysfunctional. You grew up in a dysfunctional home, so of course you're going to agree with dysfunction because you're trauma bonding. It's clear as day. Like, kids deserve to be able to go outside and play. They deserve their own bed. They deserve their own room. Like, they deserve a clean environment. They deserve to have enough food on the table for them to eat. Like, why do y'all agree with such dysfunction? It just doesn't make sense to me, and it's just not fair. Like, y'all are forgetting that these kids eventually have to grow up to be adults one day, and they're going to be so fucking far behind because their mother ain't fucking smart enough to do anything positive with her life. Now they have to suffer. Make it make sense.
Okay, so she's saying that poverty should not exist and that kids should not really be brought in poverty. Guys, look, regardless of what the government does, there will always be poverty. Even if you give stuff to people, even if you give them a fair chance at life, some people will just screw it up. Some people are so used to self-sabotage that even if they have a good thing, they will still screw it up. They will find a way to mess everything up. There are a lot of people like that. And they remain poor, not because they do not have the adequate help that they need. They remain poor and will stay poor just because of their poor choices and constant mistakes in life. We all make mistakes, but the difference is that if you're able to learn from your mistakes or not. Some people are not able to learn from their mistakes, and so they continuously do the same thing, same patterns, and it is a form of insanity because they're continuously doing something and not learning from it and going back and forth, dealing with the same issue, and they just cannot overcome that specific issue. So I think there will always be poverty.
I, for one, love having these discussions surrounding children living in poverty, specifically when parents who are already in poverty intentionally have children and introduce them to their impoverished lifestyle. Please see this trending topic going around about the resilient Jenkins family. I love having these discussions because it really sheds light on how dumb some of y'all are. Some of you guys, again, with our super leftist, super progressive takes, where we say things like, you know, if you think that being impoverished means that you shouldn't be able to have children, you are a eugenicist. Do you know what eugenicism is? Do you know what that means? Because words mean things. They have definitions. Telling people in a day and age where we have contraception and abortions at the state level and we have condoms available at fucking gas stations that maybe they should take into consideration their financial status and their housing status before they have unprotected sex with someone so as to avoid introducing an innocent human being into a lifetime of poverty, which is a social determinant of health and can seriously determine their outcome in life, including whether or not they're able to obtain formal education, including whether or not they will be victim or suspect or subject to the school to prison pipeline. Telling people they should take those measures into account before having children is not fucking eugenicism. It was eugenicism when people didn't have contraception and access to condoms and abortion and birth control. In the year of our Lord 2024, soon to be 2025, that is not eugenicism. That's intelligence. I think a lot of you super duper leftist, super duper progressive people just like to talk and love the sound of your own voice, and you just like to discuss theory, and we always have to remember that there is theory and then there is lived experience. There is actual practice, right? Theory versus how things occur and happen in real life is a completely different thing, because all of you super duper leftist people saying that we are making fun of impoverished people and we shouldn't hold this resilient Jenkins family's feet to the fire are missing the point and completely and totally deliberately ignoring and disregarding the voices of adults who are saying, I was a child who grew up in poverty in that kind of exact living situation, and it damaged me for the worse. It took years of therapy. It took years of me having a juvenile criminal record. It took years of overcoming very distinct challenges and hurdles because my parents deliberately did not care about me. You all are dismissing the lived experiences of those individuals for the sake of theory. Do you understand what you're doing? Then, to add insult to injury, you guys are acting like children are dumb. Like children are not human beings who possess thinking and logic and reasoning. It's not fully developed as an adult, yes, but they are able to form certain mental processes. So they do go to school and socialize with other children and will compare themselves to other children. They will innately, naturally compare their clothing, how their hair is styled, what gifts they receive or don't receive for holidays or birthdays to other children. You guys understand children are human beings, right? When we're talking about people who are entitled to having children, there's no such thing because children are a gift. They're not an inherent right. Children are actually a luxury and they deserve the best from us adults. Why? Because we're the adults. We should know better. That's why. And the children are innocent in this situation and didn't ask to be here. So the least we can do is when we bring them here, at least make sure they're not sleeping on a fucking foam pallet in the goddamn kitchen like they're a goddamn sub freezer or some shit. Are you so fucking serious right now? Oh, well, children don't need all those material things. Children just need love. Okay, why don't we ask the children who grew up with parents who said those kinds of things how life turned out for them? Let's ask those children whether or not they still speak to their parents as adults. Let's ask those children who were supposed to be resilient exactly and not having a fucking mattress to sleep on while you watched your parents sleep on a king-size bed and watched your unemployed, broke-ass, dusty, musty, crusty-ass daddy play a, $500-$600 PS5? So is a poverty selective? Is that what we're saying? And then you get into this argument about, oh, well, just because people are poor doesn't mean they shouldn't have nice things. Things, objects, inanimate, tangible possessions, property, not human beings. So just because you're poor doesn't mean you shouldn't have a PS5. Yes, that is true. Well, just because you're poor, then you should also be able to have as many kids as you want. No, that is not true. Stop twisting our words for the sake of being right and being theoretically correct. Because at the end of the fucking day, all of you theory type ivory towered individuals, you would walk right past this family if you saw them on the street. Let's just be so honest with ourselves. You'd be the first person to call CPS on these kids. You'd be the first person to report that they come to school with lice and bed bugs and balding as a result of said lice and bed bugs and shit. You would be the first person to do that. You'd be the first person to call the apartment management and complain about the noise and whatnot coming from the 1-bedroom apartment that has 6 fucking kids and 2 adults. You'd be the first person to complain about that. You wouldn't actually substantially help these people or know how to access the tools to help these people. You're just sitting up on the internet talking theory while completely deliberately dismissing the lived experiences and narratives of people who grew up in situations like that, who were damaged and traumatized as a result. So keep your theory in your fucking textbooks. This is real life.
Knowingly having kids when you live in poverty, knowing that they will also be impoverished, is a form of abuse. When did we all become so afraid of being politically correct that we can't admit when things are right in our face? Yes, in the United States, we hate poor people. It's so much more expensive to be poor in this country. It's also very expensive to be single without kids in this country. But saying someone hates poor people because someone decides to have 6 kids in a 1-bedroom home so much that they have to sleep in the kitchen, that's not hating poor people. That's looking at the facts. It's abusive. My best friend grew up impoverished, poor, in the middle of Michigan. And we have this conversation all the time. She is so triggered from her past of being poor. I have to convince her to do small things. I have to convince her to spend money on like a new tire. I have to convince her to spend money on herself. One time she called me because she was going on a trip and she needed something. I can't remember what it was, but it was only $20. And she's like, I can't spend that money. Mind you, my best friend has worked consistently for 10 years. She is a top director at her job. She makes a good, consistent income and she has no overhead. She doesn't have kids and she's not married. But the trauma of being poor makes her second guess everything she buys because she is afraid of being poor again. She talks about how they didn't have money in the house and they didn't know where the food was going to come from. And the stress of living with that, with seeing her mother struggle and then therefore it trickling down on her till this day causes her anxiety. Like, she just texted me to say, oh, I booked a trip to Florida and I didn't even think about it and I'm gonna stay there. And I was like, good for you. And when I tell you that's something she didn't have during her childhood, she's literally healing her inner child. We are nothing but children cosplaying as adults. Everything we do in our adulthood goes back to our childhood. So knowingly bringing a child into that kind of environment means you're not even thinking about them as a kid, but you're not even thinking about them in the future as an adult. I'm going to go more in depth in this on my YouTube page, but let's all just face the facts. It is a form of abuse to bring a child knowingly into poverty just because you wanted children.
Guys, this is one of the issues with raising kids in poverty, is that they have a very high chance of being extreme when it comes to money, either spending it recklessly or saving it to the point where they question every purchase. When it comes to your finances, it is better to be on the frugal side, but you have to know when you need something new. You have to know when to spend the money. Yes, it's good to have a lot of money saved up for a rainy day, but it gets to a point where it's just too much. You're sitting on way too much cash, and you have to reinvest that money. And so when you grow up in poverty, you have to unlearn all of these very extreme, toxic behaviors when it comes to money. And that is one of the issues. And a lot of people that have made it in life have not overcome that money trauma, and they continue it until the next generation. And then they teach their children how to behave the same way that they behave when it comes to money. And it's just a continuously toxic cycle.
I was on Twitter, minding my black business, and it was this tweet from I don't know, girl, woman, child, sound like a child. But she was basically saying that, like, when she has kids or her kids, they're gonna have to buy their own car. Like, she's not gonna buy her kids a car and everything, like, because she had to work for it, her kids are gonna work for it. And I got a hot take for this. To the black community, specifically in America, okay, the USA, I feel like because we have been oppressed for so long, and because our history in this country, I feel like we have been normalized to accept poverty as a basis for living and to accept the bare minimum for raising our children. And I say this because in a black household, the most commonly said thing is, I put a roof over your head, you got clothes on your back, and you got food in the refrigerator. And that was supposed to be the epitome of good parenting. Like, literally, ask any black person. We ungrateful if we ask for anything outside of that or don't appreciate that. While I understand how hard it is to, support just myself, so I can't even imagine how my parents supported me and put me through the things they went through, I think we need to be real and start speaking to the fact that a lot of people in the black community knowingly birth children into poverty, knowing at the moment that they get pregnant, they cannot afford to bring that child into the world. And what I mean by afford, let me go there. Being able to provide the basic luxuries of a child's life, period. There's no reason why your child shouldn't be able to explore the world, vacations, traveling, little kiddie events and things like that. Like, a child should not be subjected to just a basic minimal going outside, going to school, going home. Like, that's very limited experience in life. Also been normalized that when you turn 18 in a black household, that you are now responsible for yourself. For your phone bill, some people get it a lot earlier than that. You now have to start contributing to the household. And while I understand that we want to teach our children how to be responsible, there are so many ways to teach your child how to be responsible without making them struggle. Why in the world would I want my children to go through the same things I went through financially? The whole reason I work as hard as I do is so that by the time I start having children, they can have the life that they deserve, the life that I wish I would have got as a child. And I know that some people say, oh, so you just want to do what you didn't get. No, I just want them to have experiences that I feel like any child should have. It shouldn't be the exact experiences that I wanted, but yeah, I should be able to take my child and do things with them and them not to have to worry about anything. I want to be able to buy them a car. I want to be able to put them through college or support their dreams. Whatever it is financially, I want to have their backing. And we need to discuss why this is not common in the black community. It is getting out of hand, honestly.
I appreciate you guys watching the video today. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.